Hello and welcome back to my series of tutorial videos for Visual Basic 6. So this is lesson 5, and this time we're going to be looking at conditional loops and how they can be used for input validation, which is also one of the standard algorithms that we need to know for the National 5 course. Okay, so what is a conditional loop? Well, it's similar to our fixed loop that we looked at back in lesson 3. Now a fixed loop will repeat for a set amount of times, whereas a conditional loop will repeat until a certain condition is either true or false. Okay, so it's checking a condition, and depending on the result of that condition, we're maybe going to have a branching path in a program. So it's either going to keep looping or it's going to break out of the loop and continue on. Okay, and we can use that for input validation. So in other words, when we want to maybe check the input from the user and make sure that it falls within a certain criteria in order to progress. Okay. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. So as you can see, I've got a form already set up. Again, I'm keeping it really simple. I've got a list box called list values, which is here, and I've got a command button for entering the values. Okay, and that's it. So just dead simple. So the program we're going to make is going to be, again, very straightforward. It's going to take in 4 numbers from the user, and it's going to add them up to create a total, and then it's going to display the total. Okay, so this is actually similar to another one of our standard algorithms, a running total. Okay, now again, going back to lesson 3, we're going to be using arrays as well. Okay, so instead of separate variables for each of the 4 numbers, we're going to use an array. Okay, so we're just going to get started now. So I'm going to go into my command button. Okay, and the first thing we need to think about is the bits of information that we're going to be storing, because we need to declare our variables. Okay, so that's the first thing we really should be doing when we're writing our programs. So as I said, we're going to have 4 numbers, and we're going to store that in an array. We're going to come in, so I'll just declare that now. So we're going to call them scores. Okay. Now I thought the kind of scenario for this, because we're going to be using input validation, I thought we could have something maybe like a kind of scoring system, like say for the Olympics or for something like Strictly Come Dancing, where there's a contestant or an athlete, and they are graded. Each there'll be a series of judges, and each judge will give them a score between 0 to 10 or 1 to 10. Okay, and that's what we're going to do with this program. So we're going to declare our scores, and as I said, there's going to be 4 judges. So if you watch Strictly Come Dancing, then you'll be familiar with that. So them scores 1 to 4 and they're all going to be whole numbers. Okay, so all integers. There we go. Okay, so that's our scores. Now also, we're going to need to store the total as well. So we're going to declare that too. So the total, just call total, so that's a meaningful identifier. So when we're deciding our variable names, we obviously want to pick ones that make sense, so that it kind of describes what we're storing. So dim total as integer. Now we're only going to have 1 total, so therefore it's not going to take the form of an array. It's just going to be a single variable. And finally, we're going to be using we won't be using a counter this time, because we're using a conditional loop, so we don't actually need to declare that as such. We just need our scores and we need our total. Okay, so now we're going to move on. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to get it to take in the 4 values, and we're going to get it to display them to the user. Okay, and we can add the total at the end. So we're going to be using a fixed loop for this again. Okay, so we're going to be using 2 loops in this program, but we'll use our fixed loop first to take in the 4 values. Okay, now actually we will need another variable, because we are actually using a fixed loop. So dim counter as integer, again it's just going to be a whole number. So for counter equals 1 to 4, because there are 4 values. Okay, and then we're going to have a line that basically takes in each score from the user. Okay, so again we have scores counter. So remember, in the brackets it links to array, and it also links to the current cycle of the loop, so we know what value we're taking in at what point of the process. And then we're going to use an input box, and again we're going to be clever here, and we're going to put enter score number, and we're going to use counter here. Okay, so again we're using the value of the counter, which is again links to the index in the array, the position in the list in the array, and also the current cycle of the loop to display what number has been taken in. Okay, so it gives the user a wee bit more kind of feedback as to what they're being asked for. Okay, and then next counter. Okay, Now we should be using our indentation. Okay, so that shifts in. And also, what I want to do is I want to get it to display as well at the same time. So we'll, at this point, when it takes a number in, right after that we'll get it to display it in the list box. So it's going to be list, I think it's called values dot add item. Okay, and we're going to add scores counter. Okay, so let's just test that and make sure that works first of all. Okay, so we enter our values. Please enter score number 1, and I'm going to enter a few scores. Okay, and you can see I've actually picked some values that wouldn't be acceptable. Now what we can do is actually, again, we can go back and we can be quite clever, and we can add a string to make it again give the user a wee bit more feedback as to what is actually being taken in. So here, where we've got our scores, we could actually add a wee bit to say score. So actually, so list values add items, and then we can say score number, and again we're going to use counter. Okay, and then an answer. Remember, we're using our concatenation to combine all our strings. Okay, so score number and whatever score it is, and then a wee hyphen, and then the value. Okay, so let's try that again. So I should have done that before. So now score number 1. So I'll enter sensible values this time. 2 and then 9. Okay, so there you go. So it shows us what score, the score that's been taken in, and also the value. Brilliant. Now, as you noticed before, it will take any value at the moment. We want it so that the score can only be a number between 1 and 10. Okay, we'll make it start at 1 because giving someone 0 is pretty harsh. Okay, so it has to be at least 1. Okay, now to accomplish this, we're going to use a conditional loop. Okay, and we're actually going to have a loop within a loop because it's going to loop 4 times, but at the point that it takes the value in for the user, it's also going to check that it falls within the range, and if it doesn't, it's going to keep asking until it gets a value that's acceptable before it moves on. So our loop is going to start here within our fixed loop. So with our indentation, we can see that's very clear. So the syntax for our conditional loop, there's 2 types of conditional loops. There's a do until and a do while. A do until will keep repeating until a condition is met or is true. A do while will continue as long as a condition is met or true. So in other words, when it becomes false, it'll break out. Whereas in a do until loop, it will keep doing it until the condition is false. Okay, so they're like opposites of each other. So what we're going to do is we're going to go do, and we'll put until. Okay, and this is when we need to think about our actual conditions. Okay, so we want it to repeat until the number falls within the value. And what we're going to do here is we're going to use something called a complex condition. So there's going to be 2 parts to this. There's going to be the lower part of the range and the higher part of the range. So we need to make sure that scores, and again we're using, remember 1 to 4 because we've got 4 coming in, so we need to use counter for our array index. So until scores counter is greater than or equal to 0, that's the bottom of range. Oh, sorry, greater than or equal to 1, sorry, because we're starting at 1. So that's the bottom of a range, and this is a complex condition because both of these need to be true for it to continue. Okay. Scores counter is equal to or less than 10. Okay. Okay, and we need to add a loop, sorry. So it's a loop until. So we've got do, scores. This actually would go in here because of our indentation. Okay, I'll maybe just clean this up a wee bit. And then it's going to loop until that is the case. Okay, so we've got a loop within a loop. Let's try that now. Okay, so enter our value. So I'm going to put in an acceptable value. You'll see it moves on to number 2. I'm then going to put in a value that it shouldn't accept. And as you can see, it's going to keep repeating until I enter a value that it will take. Okay, so again we'll try 3, and for the last one we'll try a ridiculous number. We'll try, oh, and we've got an overflow error, so I've tried a number that was too big. Okay, so, but you could see there that it worked. Now the only problem with that is it's not really giving the user any feedback to say why it's not taking that value, right? So what we can do is we can actually use another construct, and this is the third construct we're going to be looking at, but we'll just include it in this program. We're going to be using a selection construct. And what we're going to do is, when it checks the value, it's going to check the value as part of the loop, but it's also going to check it within the loop and display an appropriate message if the value is not acceptable. So we're going to add that within our loop, okay? So here, we're going to put statements, again, indentation. So if, this is the syntax for an if statement, if scores counter, right, is, again, the same condition, greater than, or actually no, it'll be the opposite, yeah? So if scores dot counter, in this case, right, is less than 1, okay? So if it's less than 1, right, or, okay, so it's an or this time, so it's one or the other. So if it's less than 1 or is greater than 10, then, oh, sorry, I needed to add the condition, the variable there. So if scores dot counter is less than 1 or scores counter is greater than 10, then the following will happen. Okay, and this is going to go within our loop, and we're going to say message box. So this is going to be the wee thing that will come up to the user. Invalid score. Please enter a value between 1 and 10. Okay, and there's our message box there. And because it's a construct like our loop, we need to end it as well, so it needs to know where it ends. Okay, so here we've got, so there's a few things going on. We've got a fixed loop here, right? So it's repeating the whole thing 4 times. We've then got a conditional loop that's checking the score, and within that we've got a message, so that if the value that falls out with the range, it's going to let the user know why that's not acceptable, so that when they re-enter it, they hopefully will enter something that makes sense. Okay, and then it's going to display them. Okay, so let's try that now. Hopefully it's going to work. So enter score number 1, so we'll put in, say, 8, that's fine. Score number 2 is fine as well, we'll put 4 in. Score number 3 is where we run into a problem. We're going to put in unlucky 13, and it comes up saying invalid score, please enter a value between 1 and 10. Okay, so again, we'll try, say we're really not on the ball today, and we'll try -1, still not going to take it. We switch to 7, it does, and then finally for our last score, we'll put 1, but we'll try 0, which shouldn't accept. Nope. Try 1, and it will take it. Okay, brilliant. So the final thing we need to do is, now that we've got our, but it's taking in our full values, it's got our input validation, it's got an appropriate message for when it falls with the range. The last thing we need to do is display our score. Now we want to do this at the end of after we've taken all the values in. So we're actually going to put this outside of the fixed loop, because it's only going to happen at the end. And again, we're just going to add it to the list box. So list values dot add item. Okay, and we're going to add a wee phrase to say the contestants total score is, and this time total. Okay, so let's try this now. So the contestant's total score is and total. Try that now. Okay, so we're just going to enter 1, 2, 3, 4. So, oh, hang on, that didn't work. Let's try that again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we expect 1 plus 2 is going to be 3, plus 3 is going to be 6, plus 4 is going to be 10. We expect 10. Okay, and we can't read it anyway, actually. So we'll have to try that again. Sorry, need to go back to the form. Here, I need to really extend that. It's because I've used obviously a large font. It's difficult to see. We'll just move this to the middle. Okay, yep, that'll do. I know it's not the neatest thing, but we'll try that again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Total score is 0. Why is it 0? Well, because we've missed a process. We forgot to actually calculate the total. Okay, so within our fixed loop, right, we need to add it on. Okay, so we're going to do that after we display it. Okay, after we display the individual score, not the total. We're going to have another wee line here. So total equals itself plus whatever score has been input for that cycle of the loop. Okay. Now let's try that now. So if we put 1, 2, 3, 4, the contestant's total score is 10. Perfect. We know that it works. Excellent. Okay. Last thing that you might want to do is, at the start of the program, you probably want to make sure... Oh, I'll just show you this now, actually. So say, for example, we enter some values. We'll do it again. I'll need to scroll down so you can see this. Okay. Well, actually, there you go. And it's not actually added them on. I thought it would, but it's not actually done that. Yeah. So in this case, that's fine. But what you would usually want to do is at the start of the program, you want to make sure that the total has an initial value, and in this case, the total is going to start at 0. Okay. Although I suppose you could say that, yeah, it starts at 0. Okay, because it's going to add them all on. Okay. Right. Okay. So that should be everything that we've covered there. So just again for a recap, we've got a fixed loop which takes in the 4 values, which is tied to our array. We then have a conditional loop that's going to keep repeating until the value that's been entered at that point is within a certain value. We also have an if statement, a selection statement, that will display a message if the value is out with the range, so the user knows what the problem is. Okay. Now, just bear in mind the difference between a loop and between a selection construct is a loop will repeat, whereas a selection construct will just go down one path or another. So again, it changes a program flow, right? But it's almost like a fork in the path. So you get to a crossroads and you have to pick, you have to pick somewhere to go. Whereas a loop, you could be going round in circles basically. Okay, and that's basically the main difference between them. Okay, and finally then, so once we've got a conditional loop, it breaks out that if the condition's fine, it's then going to display the score. After it's taken it in, it's going to add it to the total. It's going to do that the 4 times, and then right at the end, it's going to display the total score. Okay, and that is the full program. Okay, so we're just going to save that now because I know I'm showing you this for everyone now, apart from the first one. So we're going to say that lesson 5, and then conditional loop and input validation. Okay. And that's lesson 5, conditional loop and input validation. Okay, brilliant. So there you go. So again, that's another video there. Hopefully that's been helpful. We're now going to be moving on to some of the processes, and we're going to be looking at basically a selection construct that allows more than one path. Okay, so say for example we want to check a condition and then we've got more than one path that we can take depending on that condition. I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so thanks again, and I'll see you for the next one.